For more, we're joined by 4 former U.S. intelligence officials who met with Snowden to give him an award for integrity and intelligence. In Minneapolis, we're joined by Colin Rowley. She was a special agent for the FBI from 1981 to 2004. She was a division legal counsel for 13 years, taught constitutional rights to FBI agents and police. Rowley also testified before Congress about the FBI's failure to help prevent the 9/11 attacks. She was awarded Time Person of the Year. In Washington, D.C., we're joined by Ray McGovern, the former senior CIA analyst whose duties included preparing the president's daily brief and sharing national intelligence estimates. He did that intelligence brief for former President George H.W. Bush. We're also joined by Thomas Drake, National Security Agency whistleblower. In 2010, the Obama administration charged Drake with violating the Espionage Act after he was accused of leaking classified information to the press about waste and mismanagement at the agency. The charges were later dropped. We're also joined by Jesselyn Bradak, National Security and Human Rights Director at the Government Accountability Project, former ethics advisor to the United States Department of Justice. We welcome you all back from Russia. I want to start with Thomas Drake. You yourself, having worked for the National Security Agency, tell us about this trip that you took to Russia to give Edward Snowden an award.
Well, the Integrity Intelligence Award is given to the recipient, and we make every effort to actually deliver it and present it in person. And given that he was in Russia, we made arrangements to go to Russia and present him with the Sam Adams Integrity Intelligence Award.
Who is Sam Adams?
I'll let Ray McGovern share the history of that, because Ray really has the background as well as a personal knowledge of what Sam Adams did during the Vietnam War era.
Well, Ray, you're sitting right next to Thomas Drake in the studios in Washington, D.C., just back from Russia. Tell us about this award.
Well, Amy, Sam Adams was a colleague of mine. He entered the agency under President Kennedy the same day I did. He was given the account to count up how many communist forces were under arms in South Vietnam, and discovered in 1967 that there are twice as many as our generals in Saigon would admit to. They said there could be no more than 299,000 enemy under arms. The precision of that number sound like 1,429 people gassed to death in Damascus. The specificity of the thing gives it away. In any case, he fought the good fight, but his uppers, the superiors, Director Helms, caved and would not tell the president the real story. And Sam went to his death with profound regret that he didn't go outside of channels. He stayed inside channels where he got diddled and diddled and diddled by the Inspector General of the Pentagon, of the CIA. And had he spoken out in 1967, halfway through that war, those of you who know what the Vietnam Memorial looks like, the whole left part of that memorial wouldn't be there because there'd be no names to chisel into that granite. And Sam went to his early death with profound regret that he hadn't spoken out. And so it is incredibly appropriate that this award for integrity intelligence, given mostly to whistleblowers, but occasionally to people who do the job honestly in place. And that is Tom Finger, for example, the last awardee last January, who shepherded the estimate in 2007, which said Iran stopped working on a nuclear weapon at the end of 2003. My arithmetic is right, that's 10 years ago, and has not resumed work on a nuclear weapon. That judgment has been reiterated, revalidated every year since, and in 1967-68, it played a huge role in preventing Bush and Cheney from starting a war with Iran. And if you don't believe me, just read Bush's memoirs.
And explain why you compare Edward Snowden to Sam Adams.
Well, Edward Snowden came by very sensitive information, which he recognized that he had a choice. He could sit around and say, well, you know, isn't that funny, and draw his $100,000 salary, be very, very comfortable in Honolulu. But he decided, well, you know, I took a solemn oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I look what Tom Drake has done. I see what happened to Bradley Manning, where Julian Assange is. If I want to get this information into the mainstream, I got to get out of Dodge, okay? And very cleverly, he got in touch with Glenn Greenwald, Laura Poitras, met them in Hong Kong, gave them all the information that he wanted to get out, and then found himself kind of stranded there. To the rescue, WikiLeaks, in the person of Sarah Harrison, who arranged with the Russian consulate there his onward travel to Latin America. Latin America? Yeah. He was going to transit Moscow so he wouldn't have to go the other way where he could be stopped. Now, this thing is full of ironies, okay? Today's Columbus Day. I was thinking on the way in, my favorite history on the discovery of America. It started this way. America was discovered by a man who was looking for something else, and the next 2 centuries were spent trying to find a way around or through it. History is like that, full of ironies, very chancy. Well, here's Edward Snowden. He's in Hong Kong. He wants to get to Latin America, to a secure place. He's on his way to Moscow in transit. He was ticketed forward to Latin America, and in the process, the U.S. revokes his passport. He's stranded. He spends the next month in the transit part of Sheremetyevo Airport, and he seeks asylum in Russia. What's the end result? He ends up in the place which is by far the most secure place on the globe, because no SEAL Team 6 or fancy drone is going to violate Russian sovereignty by taking a shot at Edward Snowden.
I'm going to break, and then we're going to come back to this discussion. I want to hear from Jesselyn Radek about this trip that the 4 of you took to Russia, and hear from Colleen Rowley on what are solutions that Edward Snowden is suggesting. What legislation is there right now to allow the people of the United States to debate the issues of spying and surveillance? What serves national security and what simply criminalizes whistleblowers and the press? Stay with us.